After years of lurking on Booktube and months of yapping to my non-reader besties, I figured it was time to finally just start the dang channel. So here we are. In this video, I'm going to be answering the classic Booktube newbie questions like why I started this channel, what got me into reading, some of my favorite genres, etc. I'm Adrienne, and if you enjoy fantasy reads, chaotic book vlogs, and just the regular life of the corporate girly trying to make it through her crazy TBR file, you are definitely in the right place. Let's go ahead and get into the tag. Also, if you're new here too, be sure to comment down below your channel so that I can come over and say hi. Question 1. Why did you start this channel? I started this channel because it's something I've wanted to do like literally my whole entire life. I've always had an interest in starting YouTube, but recently I've especially been drawn to it because I'd love to make a book community. I'd love to become a member of the pre-existing book community here on Booktube. And like I kind of previously mentioned, I've been a member of this community for a long time, and I figured I had some stuff I could contribute. So I figured now was a better time than never to go ahead and get started. I also thought it would be kind of fun to go ahead and start now because I am going to Dragonsteel Nexus here in December, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to record some videos leading up to my experience there, kind of for me to look back on in the future, but also just to share with everyone else because there is not a lot of Cosmere / Dragonsteel Nexus content out there, which I think is kind of crazy because I personally would love to watch that. I've also been told by lots of people in my real life that I have a very fun way of talking about books, like to the point they wish they could live in my brain. So I thought it'd be fun to finally share that with people who don't know me in real life. Question 2. Some unique things you could bring to Booktube. I'll be honest, I'm not sure there's anything unique left to do in Booktube, but like I mentioned, I am a little bit chaotic. I am a little bit unhinged. I read a pretty wide variety of books, and I'd like to think that I am kind of fun and outgoing, and I think that I describe books in a pretty unique way, which I do think could be a unique thing I bring here. Also, like I mentioned, I am a 9-to-5 corporate girly, so I think it'd be fun to kind of bring, a realistic side of Booktube in that regard. So many booktubers, this is their full-time job, which like that's amazing, but it's not the average experience for us regular folks out there. Question 3. What are you excited for? Well, like I mentioned, I'm really excited to build a book community that I can discuss my favorite reads with. A lot of my in-person friends that do read predominantly read romance. I don't read a ton of romance. I do read some, but definitely not my preferred genre. So I think it'd be fun to find a community of people outside of my real life besties who I can communicate with and like talk about my favorite books. I'm also really excited for future opportunities that could present themselves, whether that's, meeting new people beyond building the community, like getting opportunities to meet people in real life, getting the opportunity to hear about new genres, new authors, new books, etc. that I haven't heard of before. And then just honestly, for me, I'm excited to be able to look back on my journey as a reader and just as a person. I think having a vlog that you can say, hey, what was I doing, Christmas 2025? I think that's super cool and not something that a ton of people do. Question 4. Why do you love reading? Honestly, I love it. It's a really fun hobby. I think that you can learn so much about the world and yourself through reading, but I also love it to be an escape. I think it is a fun way to, visit new worlds or existing ones, but visit new worlds you've never been to before. And I just love that it can evoke different feelings with me. When I read Fourth Wing, for example, I sobbed, I was happy, I laughed, I felt like a sense of dread, but like because action was happening, and that's just not usually stuff that happens in real life. Like I'm not out taming a dragon. Question 6. What videos are you excited to be creating? Honestly, I already have a content calendar kind of roughly planned out from now, like the moment I post this video till mid-February. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm the type of person that if I don't pre-plan all this, I'm just not gonna have any ideas and then I'm not gonna do it. But something that I've kind of written into each month is I'd really like to do a how much I realistically read as a corporate girly video at least once a month. Like I mentioned previously, I am going to Dragonsteel Nexus in December, so at least from now till December, I want to keep up with my Cosmere catch-up episodes. I also want to do, monthly wrap-ups, monthly TBRs, all the good regular booktube stuff. I also think it'd be fun to do different challenges or different unhauls, hauls, etc. I'm just really excited to be here in general. I am especially really excited though for Vlogmas. I think that will be really fun. Those are some of my favorite videos to watch. Question 7, the books you like to read. I think this is asking about my favorite genres, which are definitely fantasy, romantasy, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of like just regular romance, and horror. Honestly, I kind of like everything. I gravitate mostly towards fantasy though. I do enjoy like mystery, thriller, those kind of books, but they are very few and far in between unless I'm in the mood for them. And then I'd say romance, I have what I call the big three. I pretty much read only their romance books, so that'd be Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez, and Ashley Poston. Those are the 3 that I know have never failed me. Okay, actually my big 3, I'm gonna be honest, has kind of turned into the big 5 because we have to throw Allie Hazelwood in there. I think my 5th and final romance big 5 would probably be Christina Lauren, but the past 2 Christina Lauren books I've read I didn't love, so we might have to tweak that list. But there's obviously other romance authors I enjoy, so it's not a hard and set rule. Question 8, physical, ebook, or audiobooks? I will be honest, I personally utilize all 3. I love listening to an audiobook when I'm doing things like chores, cooking, driving, etc. But I also love physically reading. I work at a job where I can't take my Kindle to work, so I find that I gravitate towards physical reading, but I think that's just because that's what I have to do most of the time. But I do also own a Kindle and love reading on there. It's just with my limitations of when and where I can read with my Kindle, I find I use that probably the least. I use it a lot when I travel though. That's like my #1 Kindle hack. It is phenomenal for travel purposes. Oh, also, I love immersion reading. So I love to physically read while listening. For me, I kind of think I may have undiagnosed ADHD. Who knows? But I can't concentrate sometimes when I'm just reading or when I'm just listening, so I'll do both at the same time. Question 9, are you a mood reader? I absolutely am a mood reader. I kind of think 99% of the world is mood readers, if I'm just being honest, but I feel like I am a mood reader, but also a genre reader. I kind of do like a rotation, like I'll read a couple of one genre, take a little palate cleanser break, read a couple more of that genre. But it also just kind of depends. I guess that's where the mood comes in, because sometimes you just want to keep going because you're really having such a good time with whatever you are currently doing. But I do, long story short, yes, I am a mood reader. Question 10, where do you read? I read mostly at work or in my reading chair, which is sitting here next to me, or at my desk. Honestly, I read everywhere. I really love to go to coffee shops and read. I haven't done that in a pretty long time though. Yeah, I read everywhere, to be honest. Question 11, do you annotate? Sometimes. I usually am the type of reader that I'll only annotate on a reread, unless a book, like I'm just having like such a visceral reaction to it. Like I'm currently reading These Summer Storms. I forgot the author. I'll insert a picture here. But I'm currently reading These Summer Storms, and I have been underlining so much, but right now I'm using a pencil because my fear is that I'm going to annotate something and then dislike it, and then I'm stuck with an annotated book, which is why I say I am more of a reread annotator. Like I've read this book called The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther probably 3 times, and I've annotated it. But it's also one of my favorite reads, so like it was super fun to like go back in and, highlight the foreshadowing and such. So yes, but mostly no. Question 12, do you DNF? I do, but it has to be like a certain type of book, I feel like. Usually I'm pretty good about picking out books that I know I'm going to enjoy, so I don't DNF too often. I think, according to my Goodreads, I've only DNF'd like 13 books total ever. But I do DNF, and sometimes I feel bad about it. I'm the kind of reader, like I said, I usually pick out books that I think I'm going to like anyways, so I don't run into it super often, but also I feel guilty when I DNF. Recently, the most recent books I've kind of thought about DNF, for example, I've been ARC copies, and I feel really bad DNFing an ARC. Like, I want to support. Question 13 and 14 kind of go together, so I'm going to answer them kind of in one giant story or segment or whatever you want to call this. But question 13 is what got you into reading, like what books got you into reading, and then question 14 is when did you start reading. So basically, I have always been a reader. I loved reading as a child, but I was one of those children, like I think a lot of us are, that didn't like being told what to read. So I read a lot, but I hated it if it was like forced on me, I guess. But some of the books from my childhood that mean a lot to me: The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk, Peter and the Starcatchers. This is actually a signed edition that I found at Half Price Books a couple of months ago, and I thought that was so cool. Confessions of a Murder Suspect by James Patterson. I want to reread this series so bad. I realized that I only read the first book, but I read it like 4 or 5 times. That's crazy. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This was like a foundational core of my personality as a young human being. And then also by Jenny Han, we've got To All the Boys I Loved Before. Those are kind of the books that I remember having a major impact on me as a child. And then I have a couple here that impacted me as a high schooler. They were ones that I read kind of for funsies. I will also admit, I had a massive Wattpad phase during this point in my life. If you were an After fan, let me know, because that story was like a core part of my being. But the 2 books I have from high school that I feel like kind of shaped me into the reader I am today would be Never Let Me Go. I apologize, I do not know how to pronounce this author's name. Actually, funny story about this. When I was a senior, I want to say in high school, we were given an English essay where we could pick pretty much any book we wanted as long as they were on a list. And I chose this kind of on a whim, and it's still one of like the most memorable books I've ever read. So shout out to Mr. Gargis. And then 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I hope I pronounced that right. We read this in my Spanish class when I want to say I was like a sophomore in high school. And again, this is one of those stories that I think about this all of the time. It changed me as a person. I love this story. Again, I really, really want to reread it, but it's kind of dense. But it is beautiful and quirky and crazy. And then, like most people, I kind of took a break, I think, after high school, kind of during college. You don't have a ton of free time, and when you do, you know, you're doing other stuff, let's be honest, like hanging out with your friends, eating takeout food, being crazy. But once I started reading again in my adult life back in 2022, I have a couple of books here that kind of are what sparked my re-interest into reading. So I've got 2. I have like a couple, obviously, that, you know, were the first books I read, but these are the 2 that I think really set in stone my love for reading. The first one I have is If I Die Tonight by Allison Galen. I got this randomly on a family vacation in one of those like blind date with a book, like paper sacks. I don't remember what the prompts were anymore. If I can find a picture, maybe I'll put it here, but I loved this story. It was phenomenal. I have never heard anyone talk about this book, but it was so good. It's, again, a book I kind of think would be fun to reread to see if I still like it now or if it just had such an impact on me because I was a new reader. But it was crazy. It's basically like a murder mystery. I even reading the back, I don't really remember what this story was about, but I remember it was multiple POV and it was shocking. It shocked me. I was so obsessed with it, and I would highly recommend checking this out. Last but not least, kind of a book that set me on the path of this adult reading journey is, I forgot the title for a second, The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I love this book. I think it was the first romance I had read, because when I got back into reading, I read If I Die Tonight, and then after that, I think I read November 9th by Colleen Hoover, and then I read In 5 Years by Rebecca Serrell, and then this, after that, was the next one I picked up, and this had me giggling and kicking my feet, and I was so obsessed, and that's how I knew I needed to be a reader, and I needed to specifically find giggly, kicking your feet romance reads, just like all the other girlies. So this one, she is like a foundational part of my being. But did y'all see that they're making it into a movie? That casting looks so good. But anywho, I love her. Yeah, those are pretty much all of the books that got me back into reading, and a little bit about my reading journey. Obviously, since 2022, I've read tons of books. My journey has continued to evolve since then. I also have a list of my favorite books, which was the very first video I posted here on this channel if you want to go check that out. That'll kind of give you an even further look into my current reading taste if you care. Feel free to say hi in the comments down below. I'll try to reply to all of those as they come in. Leave me a book suggestion of your favorite read. I would love to know what those are. And then let me know if you're new to this journey as well. If you liked this video, I'd love it if you would consider leaving me a like and possibly subscribing if you want some more chaotic bookish content from yours truly. But anywho, thank you so much for watching. Hope to catch you in the next one.